I'm trying to make sure that.
Hey, does it matter what my name comes up as on my
It,
caption?
no, I don't think so. I think that
I just want to make sure I'm
we'll know
sticking
who
with the
you
right
are.
theme. Hey, does it matter what my name?
Uh, no, yeah, no. Everyone will know who you are. So now I am going to actually promote the. I'm going to promote the YouTube uh, link here, and then we'll get started. So let's see. So where is? Sorry about these technical difficulties. So
It's all good. Take your
I'm
time.
talking to the audience now. So the
Can I split my screen and
code is streaming
watch the
live
feed?
now. What?
Can I split my screen and watch the feed?
No, because there's audio there's audio issues if you do that. I
Oh,
actually have the YouTube channel on mute so that it won't interfere. So let's see. The other thing is that I tested this earlier, and there's about uh like a six like a 5 to 6 second delay in the in the YouTube uh, live stream. So anyway, this is our first episode of our new weekly podcast. So I'm Professor Sung Chan, and this is Nick, and Nick will be joining me every week on this new podcast. And when Nick signed up, he did not know what the podcast would be about or even the name of the podcast. And so before we get into meeting Nick and learning about our topic of the day, let's get to our intro music. So I'm going to roll the opening credits here, and then we will start. We'll start right after that. So let's see. So here's the opening credits. All right, so we have our theme music there. So that was the live unveiling of the podcast name, and so we are funny is part of my name. So this will be a podcast weekly about math and Korean culture with a side of humor. So I'll bring the math and the questions and the Korean culture, and Nick will bring the side of humor every week. So
good. I have a nice easy job. I appreciate that, John.
well,
Or Professor, I'm sorry.
yeah, so let me just start with a few questions. So, Nick, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and maybe where you're from, what you do, and as part of your work, what's your favorite memory of mathematics that you've used every day at your job.
Sure. I'm originally, well, I was born in Korea, but I grew up in, I guess, home. Home is Western New York, the Buffalo area. Still have a lot of roots there. So, good old Western New York, the snow belt capital of the world. In terms of my profession, I'm in the automotive industry. I'm an engineer by trade, so math and quantitative studies and science is a big part of my educational background, certainly, and a good part of my everyday role in my work. And then the last part of the question, Professor, the how does math play a part in my job in my, I guess, most favorite or desirable way? I'm really kind of a multifaceted cross-functional kind of role in my work. So I'm always kind of teetering between the business side and the engineering technical side. So there's a lot of, I guess, translation of data and numbers from the business world back to the engineering world and vice versa that has to be translated and sort of manipulated in a particular fashion when you're in my role. So it's, I think, understanding how the numbers from the engineering side play with the numbers from the business side and vice versa again as well. So there's a lot of quantitative aspects to my job, and I very much enjoy that.
Oh, well, that's great to hear. So, I would like to now move on to just a little game to let the audience get to know you. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and if you get, well, let's see. I have, let's see. So how many are there? I have at least 5 questions I'm going to ask you, and if you get all 5, well, I'll tell you, if you get at least half of them correct, I'll eat a pizza live on the show next week. So question 1, Nick.
Or not let
What is,
down then.
yeah, so what is the difference between a mathematician and a philosopher?
Oh boy, a mathematician and philosopher. Jeez. Can we make this multiple choice?
Well, that was a wrong answer. So
Oh, come
the
on, man.
mathematician only needs paper, pencil, and a trash bin for his work. The philosopher can do without the trash bin.
Oh, okay.
So
I like that.
uh,
That's clever.
here is question number 2, Nick.
Wait, how many do I have to get right for you to eat a pizza live?
At least half of them.
How many are there again? Or 5?
Yeah. So
So I need to get
right
3.
now we're 0 for 1.
Oh
So
boy.
the next one is a question 2. Why do they never stir beer at a math party?
I feel like this has something to do with mathematicians counting the calories.
Wrong again. It's because you can't drink and derive. So a little calculus joke there for our viewers. So let's see. So we have question number 3, Nick. So you're 0 for 2. So question 3, did you hear about the constipated mathematician?
I haven't, but tell me about him or her.
Well, that was a wrong answer again. He
Oh,
worked it out with a pencil. So
grossly
that's
amusing.
so you're now 0 for 3.
So I've already
So,
lost. Can we just not have me go
no,
through the
because
agony of
there's I could ask up to 13. I have up to 13
13?
questions
I
here.
thought it was 5.
So,
You're gonna torture me that bad?
I mean, the first segment of our program tonight, we have 3 about 15 to 20-minute segments, so we have to get through the rest of these questions in order to
Oh
go on
boy.
to the next segment here. So what happened to the plant in math class?
What happened to the plant in math class?
Oh no, this isn't looking good, Nick.
It's not. I'm not feeling good.
All right, it grew square roots.
Of course it did.
All right, so that's 0 for 4. So question 5, why should the number 288 never be mentioned?
288. Let's see. Is that an even square root? So if it was, it would be like 18 square. No.
Well, you're getting closer. Well,
288 was the number?
yeah, it's so the answer is it's too gross.
It's too gross.
All right, so now we have let's see, number 6 here, Nick. So you're 0 for actually you're 0 for 5 here, but I think
I'm sorry. I'm
I
just
think
not.
it's looking good for number 6.
It's not looking good.
So what does the 0 say to the 8?
Oh, I've heard this one. That's a nice belt.
Oh yeah, so you got 1 now. So one first. So number 7.
It's really a math joke, John. I don't.
Well, these aren't jokes. These are real questions, like real trivia knowledge, Nick. So how does a math professor propose to his fiance?
Why does it have to be a him?
Well, I mean that's like the joke, I guess. But this, in all seriousness, it's with the polynomial ring.
Oh, I
So
never learned
there's a
that.
little abstract algebra joke for
All right, I
our
didn't get that.
listeners out there.
I didn't get that far in algebra.
So let's see. So you have 1 correct now, Nick. So how do you know when you've reached your math professor's voicemail?
Can I call you real quick and find out?
Well, no, because I don't think that. Well, you're not.
You're not my professor.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So
Well, hey,
so
I've been
you're not
asking
my
if I could audit
student,
one of your
so-
classes, man. What's the deal with that?
So the answer is the message is the number you have dialed is imaginary. Please rotate your phone by 90 degrees and try again. All right, so let's see. So we have another one here, Nick. So you've gotten 1 so far. What do you get if
Yeah.
you cross a math teacher and a clock?
A math teacher and a clock. I feel like it's some kind of time.
Yep. Oh no, this isn't looking good.
It's not. I'm not feeling good about it.
Arithmetic.
That's not your best one.
Well, I mean, hey, I didn't write these. All right.
I know, but you wait. I'm a little shocked actually that you didn't.
Well,
except for the
let's
8
see.
and the 0 one, only because I've heard that
So
before.
here's another one. Why did the mutually exclusive events break up?
Oh, I've heard this before. I have heard this before, but it's not looking good here.
Nope. They had nothing in common.
Yeah, okay, that was.
All right.
Okay, that's
So
pretty cool.
the last one, let's see. So how
Oh,
does
thank goodness.
How does the last one of this set of questions, Nick.
Oh, boy.
How does a mathematician induce good behavior in her children? Again, I just got these questions from the internet. So
Yeah. I should be Googling them as we go, but I'm trying to be honest here.
Well, that's okay because
And I honestly don't know.
Now our listeners know that you're an honest person. So
Thank you.
So the answer is I've told you n times, and I've told you n plus 1 times. So there we go. So let's see. So unfortunately, Nick, you only got one of the questions here correct. So
How many did we do?
1, and so I don't think that you actually knew your math jokes, but that's
No.
okay.
No.
So let's see. So before we go to our first break here, just maybe tell everyone where they can find out a little bit more information about you if you are on Instagram or maybe at the local Kroger or whatever you want to tell the viewers about how they can connect with you to ask questions about the show.
Well, I don't know how the local Kroger is going to help anybody, but so I guess I'll skip that one. But on a serious note, on the Instagram side, you can find me and my handle white.a.minute. So white a minute with dots between the 3 words.
Oh, well, thank you. So now, Nick, it is time for our first break. So let's cue up the music again and give our viewers a a moment to go get a drink from their refrigerator and maybe a snack. So here we go. Cue up the music again. So as well, I don't know what's going on here, but as long as we're in the first break here, I'd like to encourage the viewers to check out the website, www.donalds.com, Everyday Maps for Everyday People, and there you can even get the same shirt that I'm wearing in the picture right there. So now let's
John,
go back to our.
can we have more Korean and less math? 'Cause I feel demoralized right now
Oh.
after that series of questions.
I'll tell you, Nick, that
So like I even came prepared. Look, John.
yes, but yeah, I have my I have my Margaret cookies here.
Good.
So I'll tell you, Nick, that the next segment is about celebrating Black History Month. So as
Okay.
you probably know, I February is Black History Month, and so
I did know that. Surprisingly, audience, despite the
Yes.
fact that I did not know any of John's humorous math quiz questions, I did know that February here, or right now, I don't want to assume it's just here, but is in fact Black History
Yes.
Month.
And so Nick, so let's see. So why is celebrating Black History Month important to you? And do you have a favorite Black mathematician? And if so, why is that person your favorite Black mathematician?
Well, I think it's important because culture is a very important part of who we are as individuals. It's part of our identity. I know it's something that I'm still kind of working myself to discover on my own and about myself. So I think to have a social awareness to celebrate and to help spread awareness of the importance of that identity and that cultural affiliation for people is a really powerful tool, and it's something that can help us all better understand and appreciate people who may be of a different background than ourselves, and to recognize that there is a special uniqueness in that. Now the second part, John, forgive me, but I am not a well-versed enough mathematician fan to know a mathematician of any race or ethnicity other than yourself. And unfortunately, I don't believe you associate as Black or African American, or else I would say you.
Well, what I will say then is that I can give you a little background, Nick. So there's some famous Black mathematicians. There is, let's see, I have a little list here, but one of them that you may have heard of is John Herschel. And so
Oh
he
my
is
goodness.
a retired
How could I?
NFL player.
No,
So
John, I feel so horrible now. You know why? Because John Urschel and we actually graduated from the same high school in Buffalo, New York. So I forgive me for whoever is watching this atrocity right now, that I completely neglected remembering John Urschel. Shout out.
I'll say though that let's see. So I actually uh, went to school with some famous people also, but I don't think that I went to school with anyone who actually became a famous mathematician. But that's okay. I feel like we all go down different paths in our lives. So yeah. So let's see, Nick. So have you heard of, let's say, see who we have? Benjamin Banneker.
The name sounds familiar, but please remind me who that
Yes.
is.
So Benjamin Banneker, he was a free African American almanac author, surveyor, landowner, and farmer who had knowledge of mathematics and natural history. So he was born in Baltimore County in Maryland to a free African American woman and her former slave, and Banneker had little or no formal education, was largely self-taught. So I will say, though, that some of the things that you probably know him for is, oh, you know what, this is actually, he's known for so many things that he's actually, here, I had to look up the exact year, but in around 1753, actually, Banneker completed a wooden clock that struck on the hour. So I think that that's pretty impressive that he is one of the, you know, the pioneers of clockmaking. So if you've ever, seen any of the big, nice wooden clocks, they're called Benjamin Banneker clocks. So there you go, Nick.
Thank
The
you.
next time
I
you're
enjoyed that.
telling, the next time you're telling time anywhere, think of Benjamin Banneker
I
and
will.
all the contributions that he made to clocks and telling time as we do today. So let's see. So who else do we have here? We have Euphemia Lofton, who was an American mathematician and educator, and she was the first African American woman to earn a PhD in mathematics, and she earned it from the Catholic University of America in 1943. So I think that that's even that's even more impressive, actually, that given it being the 1940s, that Euphemia just was able to get her PhD. And actually, there were a lot of female Black mathematicians who were able to get their masters in mathematics up until that point in the United States, but no one up until her got their PhD. So it's quite the accomplishment. So
It is. Thank you for sharing that.
oh yeah. So
a model
now,
individual there.
let's see. So Nick, what do you say, like, or who would you say maybe is like a well-known like a Black engineer, or somebody who might work closer to your field than mathematics that you would like people to know about?
Well, let's see. I'm envisioning faces in my mind, but I'm struggling to remember the name parts of them here. And let's see. Black individuals who have been instrumental in the technology sectors.
Yeah, so let's see. So I feel like you're like highlighting the right now, Nick, like part of the importance of why Black History Month is so important, because it really is like if you ask a lot of people, like, do they know a famous Black engineer, or do they know a famous Black mathematician? A lot of people will have a blank in that area, because it just was not taught to us in school when we were growing up here in the United States. So I'd say that this is exactly the reason why we have a Black History Month, because it's just we don't want all of their the stories and all of the like acclaim for all the inventions that have been made to go forgotten. So this is actually a very important matter. So maybe have you seen the movie Hidden Figures, Nick?
I have, yeah, and forgive me, I don't remember the character names of any of the cast, but I think that's, I don't want to try to claim how accurate that was to reality, but I know it is heavily based off of true events. But I think that, is one step toward that cause that
Oh,
you just described, John, of creating, better awareness for greater society of the accomplishments of, people from certain groups that really, as we just demonstrated, have not received the recognition, and, or I guess the widespread and broadcast recognition that they're certainly deserving. I mean, that's quite the accomplishments of the individuals you just covered.
yeah. Well, and one of the women in the Hidden Figures film, like what the film was about, is Katherine Johnson, and she actually unfortunately died last February, but she's in the news this week because there is now a spacecraft that has been named after her.
Oh, that's
So,
great.
yeah, it really is. And so there is a spacecraft that is, where is it? I'm trying to remember the name of the company, so I just looked it up again, but it's Northrop Grumman. So
Okay.
they have announced that it will name its new NG-15 Cygnus spacecraft after Katherine Johnson. So it will bear the name, the SS Katherine Johnson.
Oh, that's great.
So I think it's great, and they're planning for its first mission to be a cargo delivery mission to the International Space Station. So I'm sure you've heard of the International Space Station, Nick.
That I have. I couldn't let you down on that one.
Yeah, so we can't go to the International Space Station, but we can go to another short commercial before we come back for our last and final segment of the show this evening. So here comes the commercial break music. And during this commercial break here, I'd like to remind people that you can go to the website www.donalds.com and find out more information about almost everything that you would hear on the show. So so after the show today, we will make sure that any resources and links and additional information is all posted on the website for your enjoyment, including a link to all of the math jokes that Nick did not get correct.
You said
Today.
they were
So,
questions, not jokes. So was
well,
the joke on me?
that they were questions in segment 1, and we're in segment 3 now, so they're now jokes.
Yeah.
So since this is our first episode, I'll tell you that our general format will be like how it has been so far this evening, and the first segment will be a focus on math. The middle segment, a focus on some current events, and then the third segment will be a focus on Korean culture and current events in Korea. So, Nick, I have some excuse me, some news articles from around the world where Korea has made the news in the past, I say 24 to 48 hours. And so I'm going to read a little excerpt from each of the articles and then just have you respond. So think of this like Meet the Press, like
Okay.
where they read a little quote and have to react.
Okay.
So the first one is it's from the Korea Times, and it was in the actually in the opinion section. Actually, let's see. So it would be it's actually to well today, but in Korea it's already February 9th. So tomorrow in Korea, but so it's like we're actually getting a little preview here, I guess. But the opinion topic was social justice without fairness. So over 56% of California voters rejected Proposition 16 in a state that voted overwhelmingly for Joe Biden. This was a resounding defeat for a supposedly progressive ballot box initiative that would allow diversity as a factor in public employment, education, and contracting decisions. So, what are your thoughts on that statement as it relates to the Proposition 16 in California being voted down by the voters out there, and social justice without fairness?
Well, I think the concept of social justice without fairness is sort of like an oxymoron. I think the sort of basis of social justice is to promote and employ a certain fairness within society. Obviously, the concept of fairness is subjective, to say the least, and it's not a concrete, measurable concept really in any medium. But when I hear social justice and lack of fairness, I guess it sort of leaves a confusing thought in my mind, in that you can't really have social justice unless you have, again, that certain societal fairness. So I, I don't know if it's a situation of voters being ignorant about what it is that they're determining with their votes, or if it's they're being portrayed the wrong realities about what it is they're trying to determine with the election. I'm not quite sure.
So Nick, let me read you another quote from this opinion article from the Korea Times. It says,
Okay.
now let's apply the smell test to the substance of the proposition. Cast aside all the euphemism and noble language. It basically asks voters to permit a discriminatory practice based on race to address systemic racism. It's circular logic. Let's racially discriminate in order to end racial discrimination. So, what are your thoughts on the pointed words of the opinion article in the Korea Times today?
Well, I think it's worded in a very confusing manner. I mean, I guess hearing it more or less twice from you now, I'm starting to better grasp, I guess, what the intention of the writer is. But I think, if since you were reading it verbatim, I feel a press tactic to author it or compose it in a certain fashion where it is confusing to a lot of readers, myself included, to a good extent. And it I think it's intended to sway individuals by keeping them, in a sense, somewhat ignorant, by cloaking what the real message is with clever wording. I think that it was written in a form where it kind of just what ran in circles, and it left me, as the reader, the audience, not quite sure what to think, even though I clearly heard exactly what you said.
Right, and I will say that I did find the article to be a little bit circular in logic, just like you said. But the part of the reason why I did want to bring this article up is because social justice and racial equality and diversity ending systemic racism are all important things, but I think a as a Korean, even though like I know neither of us grew up in Korea, it's still like good to know that these types of issues are actually being highlighted by Koreans now, because it's been like for so long a lot of things in Korea regarding social justice and systemic racism and so on and so forth have been swept under the rug by Koreans. So this is nice to, I think, just know that there at least if anything, this opinion article today in the Korea Times is a discussion starter.
It is, yeah. It's good to see that they're even though it's something that is physically happening here in the United States, that it is getting a certain level of international recognition, and that other people in countries that are not directly impacted by it are still taking notice of what's going on, and at least having the opportunity to educate themselves on what is very possibly a, a social injustice or a potential one, as the article hints at in its beginning.
So Nick, I have one more like article with a heavier topic, and then we'll go to the last article that I have. But
Okay.
okay, so this one the is from the Korea Herald, and it's from February 8th, so earlier in the day in Korea. So Korean students at Harvard demand professor's apology over controversial claims on comfort women. So I don't know if you know about comfort.
I do. I'm
women.
familiar with
Okay,
the
so
term,
this
what
is
they are
what
or were.
these are a couple of quotes from the article. So Korean students at Harvard University have strongly criticized a professor over his controversial claim that Japan's wartime sexual slavery was actually voluntary prostitution, demanding its immediate withdrawal in his official apology to victims. And then it goes on that the Harvard Korean Society made the demand in a statement on its website after Harvard Law School Japanese legal students professor J. Mark Ramsire caused controversy with his recently published paper titled Contracting for Sex in the Pacific War. So what are your thoughts on this article, Nick?
Well, it seems a little bit that the professors were, at least in my perception, were trying to dispel maybe the reality or the severity of what, in my opinion here, I feel very likely did happen at those times when the concept of a comfort woman was likely in practice, or very much in practice. I think the concept, at least for me, is very believable. I certainly was not there, or even alive at that point in time, to be able to verify, and I can't say that I've done any personal research beyond just some cursory reading on it to educate myself a little bit on the subject, to know what the validity really holds about it. But I think I'm not sure what the coursework was that this topic was brought up, or to know even the appropriateness of it for discussion with the students by the professor. But I suppose if it was an opinion-based course as opposed to a class that was intended to be more factually based, then it's probably a tough subject to kind of broach. But for me personally, I tend to disagree with the professors that it I feel it was a very real thing. I think, just kind of as an adult, and I think through the concept of even what you see in today's societies across the world, with human trafficking and prostitution, be it legal or illegal. It I guess it sets a certain narrative of the believability of it from that point in time. So I think my overall feeling about the article excerpt that you read is it's tough for me to say that those professors were in the wrong for bringing the subject up, but I do tend to disagree with their point of view.
Yeah, well, what I'll say, Nick, is that I think that this just goes to show that like like wounds like take a long time to heal, and if they ever do. And so like when you're talking about like such a sensitive subject that you want to you want to um, be able to approach it with an open mind, and I'll give my own opinion on this right now, but I read the whole article in the Korea Herald, and I'd say that um, the professor was not keeping open mind, and so I'm actually I brought up this article, or I picked this article out as one for us to talk about, because I really think that it's like I'm actually proud that the Korean students at Harvard were willing to speak up when when they felt like unjust terms and viewpoints were being expressed in, especially in an academic environment like that. So I think that like the students went to Harvard, and I will work under the assumption that a lot of them are came all the way to Harvard from Korea to study, and I really don't believe that if the United States wants to continue to attract like talent to the colleges and universities in the United States, that this is how we can treat the guest students here in the country. So I think that there's a big, probably in my opinion, a problem with a lot of instructors at colleges and universities many times not realizing how much that these like off comments in their mind might really affect the students in their learning. So, all right, very good, Nick. So
Thank you.
let's move on to the last article, and this one is from the Maritime Executive. I actually think that you'll like this one, Nick. It says the headline is South Korea fast tracks plan to build world's largest offshore wind farm. So the government of South Korea has pledged to put its support behind a $43 billion plan to build the world's biggest offshore wind farm. As part of President Moon Jae-in's Green New Deal plan for reducing the nation's carbon emissions, the administration is backing a proposed 8.2 gigawatt wind farm off the coast of Sinan, a small archipelago just west of Mokpo. If fully built out, it would be the largest single offshore wind project in the world, and it would double the nation's existing wind power capacity. So what do you think about this article, Nick?
Well, certainly the core intention behind it of trying to make a move toward cleaner, more renewable energy options for the nation is a positive. I think any efforts that are, whether they're privately backed or government backed like this one, it sounds, I think are ultimately good for the society, certainly for the environment, good for creating jobs. So overall, they has a lot of positives. Certainly, you want to kind of consider what the cost is that you state. I think 43 billion. I'm not sure if that's American equivalent dollars or what the currency would be, but it's a large, large sum to cover the cost of this project. So, certainly you can't overlook what that's going to be impact wise financially on the country, on the society there. And then, certainly I guess the science background in me is would want to look a little bit into the data and the projections of, what are we really going to gain, from this, not to belittle its potential or its abilities, but I sometimes question certain initiatives from governments of different sizes about their green initiatives or their environmental soundliness. Really is it really as good as the portrayal is, or is it something more for PR to kind of fit in line with what we feel we should be doing as a world society or a nation society? So, and again, that's not to dispel the validity of this, but I'm an individual who likes to take a comprehensive look at things. So if I was going to research this deeper myself, those are all things I want to investigate a little bit more to make sure that it is in fact checking as many boxes as it possibly can, and not just the couple that get the most publicity and then ignore other ones. So ultimately, I think it's a great initiative, and I hope it works out, and I hope it's something that is sustainable and affordable for Korea as a nation. But I think there's more. Certainly, if I was involved with it, more I would want to know about the subject before giving it a proverbial stamp of approval.
Yeah. So what I'll say is that like Korea has the Korean government has a history of like taking losses on a lot of the big infrastructure project, like for example, expanding the Seoul metro. It, I know that the last time I was in Seoul, that a lot of the stations were almost brand new, or just some under construction to expand the reach of the Seoul metro. But the the government is taking a loss when they fund these big projects and then only charge like about $1 per ride or whatever it is. And so, uh, but from my understanding, a lot of the residents are much happier because then the ones who are still driving, there's not as many people on the road, and the ones who aren't as frustrated because they're not stuck in traffic all the time, and the pollution is down a little bit because there's not many cars on the road. And so, like what sticks out to me about this wind farm is just the reasoning behind it to reduce the Korea's carbon emissions. I think that if you like make the air quality better and everything like that, and then your residents become healthier, and then they're able to do more, and then eventually as the residents are able to do more, they will be able to contribute more back into the economy that way. And that I really think that the government over time could recoup the cost. I don't think it would be a fast process to recoup the cost, but if it's at the risk of, well, let's continue allowing the air quality to be so poor that the residents can't escape it, then I don't think that the $43 billion price tag is the unreasonable alternative to that. So,
That's
you know,
good. Great point, John. The compounded benefits of something is exactly, what needs to be considered and not overlooked. I mean, it's not just about immediate returns as you described. There are longer term benefits and auxiliary benefits that kind of branch off of the main purpose that absolutely need to be considered as factors into the equation, and really included in how do we offset what we're putting into this.
well, Nick, that is it for this segment. So we're going to go to our last commercial break here, and then after we come back, I'm going to have you give us your best joke to close out the show.
My
All right.
best
So
joke to
I'll
close
give you
out the show.
I'll give
Okay.
you like the 20 seconds or so to think about what your best joke is to close out the show here. So here we are for our last commercial break. So again, one last reminder that you can visit our website here at www.johnopes.com for all the information on anything you would like to know about this show. And of course, we will be back every week at the same time. But Nick, so let's get your last words and your final joke.
Or kind of my first one. All the jokes have been on me so far tonight, but it's been all in good fun. I've enjoyed it. So thank you, John, for getting this going and having me on here as a guest with you. It's been a pleasure discussing the topics. I really enjoyed the variety of the areas we've covered. It's been a good experience so far. So because I was put on the spot, I was not able to come up with a good one, but I suppose that kind of fits the bill perfectly. The cornier, the lamer, the better. So this is kind of came about the other day. So we were trying to figure out, this is a popular Korean snack, and we were trying to determine the what Heim meant, because it doesn't imply that it'd be a Korean snack. So I was talking with some other adopted Koreans, and we determined that Heim means house or home. So the joke was, we were all eating this snack called essentially white home or white house, and we all grew up in white homes. So
Well then,
that's the best I can give you.
That's well. Let's all. Well, you know what? I'll apologize to our audience right now for the lack of jokes on today's episode, but we'll be back next week, and hopefully Nick will be prepared for the joke portion of the show. So
I will. I'm sorry, but I'll do better.
I hope everyone has a nice evening, and let the music play us out here. All right, have a great night, everyone. I'm not going to roll the credits because there's none to roll here, but I think that you should do. So have a great day.